I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. I've always considered myself pretty straightforward, married to Emily for 8 years, and honestly I thought we had a solid, if not perfect, relationship. She's always been a little bitchy, quick to snap and throw fits if things didn't go her way, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, I loved her. We had our routines, our little jokes, and I genuinely believed we were in it for the long haul. But things started to change around 6 months ago. It was subtle at first. She'd be more distant, secretive about her phone, and she'd go out with her friends more often, always claiming it was just girl stuff. I noticed little things here and there. She'd get defensive if I asked about her whereabouts, or she'd suddenly have to work late, even though her job as a marketing executive was pretty flexible. I brushed it off at first, telling myself she was just stressed, or maybe I was overthinking it. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The first real sign came when I caught her lying about her phone. She left it on the kitchen counter, and I saw a text pop up with a nickname I didn't recognize, something like Babe in a message thread. I didn't read it then, didn't want to invade her privacy, but I kept it in mind. Then, a few days later, I noticed her deleting texts and changing her passwords. She even started taking her phone to the bathroom with her. That's when I decided to start paying closer attention. It was during one of these moments that I stumbled across something that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was helping her pack for a work trip. She was going to a conference in another city, and I was just glancing around her phone, trying to find her boarding pass. Out of curiosity, I scrolled through her messages, and what I saw made my stomach drop. There was a string of texts, flirty, intimate, downright inappropriate, between her and some guy named Jake. The kind of texts where they're talking about meeting up, about how hot they find each other, and her saying things like, "Can't wait to see you again, babe." The worst part, I knew Jake. He was her literary agent's assistant, an intern really helping her with her book tour. And I'd met him a couple of times. He seemed like a decent kid, eager to please, totally harmless on the surface. I froze there, staring at the screen. I couldn't believe it. She was cheating on me with some kid who, let's be honest, was way too eager to impress her. I felt a mix of rage, heartbreak, and confusion all at once. How fucking stupid had I been? How long had this been going on? My mind reeled with questions, but I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just some innocent flirtation. This was real, and it was sickening. I kept quiet for a few days, trying to process what I'd seen. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but deep down I knew the truth. There was no way she was just texting him about her book. She was in a full-blown affair, and I was the last to know. I felt betrayed, not just as her husband, but as a person who thought we had honesty between us. The worst part, the way she lied so effortlessly, like she was used to getting away with it. She always had a quick excuse, a bitchy comment or a dismissive wave when I questioned her about her suddenly weird behavior. One night, I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. I needed to confront her. I waited until she got home from her work dinner, and I had everything ready, her phone, the evidence, my nerve. When she walked in, she immediately snapped at me, bitchy as ever, asking what I was glaring at. I just threw her phone on the table and told her I knew everything. Her face twisted into that familiar sneer, and she started lying right away. She said it was just harmless flirting, that Jake was just being friendly and I was reading too much into it. She called me paranoid, insecure, accused me of spying on her, but I wasn't having it. I told her I'd seen the messages and I wanted the truth. Her response, she rolled her eyes, smirked, and said, "Oh, so now you're jealous of some kid? Please, you're overreacting." That only fueled my anger. I felt like I was talking to a wall, her usual bitchy, dismissive attitude masking the guilt. I was sure of it. I didn't care if she called me paranoid anymore. I told her I was done, that I deserved honesty, and that I wasn't going to be played for a fool. That's when she started crying fake tears and told me I was crazy, that she loved me but she was just stressed, that it meant nothing, that I should trust her. But I couldn't trust her anymore. The emotional damage was done. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, like my entire world was crumbling. I spent the night awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to decide what to do. It's like I knew I had to end this, but part of me still hoped she'd come clean, admit everything, and maybe we could fix it. But deep inside, I knew that was wishful thinking. I was angry, hurt, and disillusioned. I'd caught her lying so many times before, but this was a different level. She was cheating with a kid I once considered harmless, and I felt like I'd been slapped across the face with a wet fish. I never thought I'd see the day I had to confront betrayal like this, especially not from someone I loved and trusted so blindly. After that confrontation, everything changed. I knew I couldn't just sweep this under the rug or hope it would go away. The betrayal cut deep, and I started to see her in a different light, bitchy, manipulative, and willing to lie and cheat without a second thought. But I also knew I needed evidence, something concrete that I could use if I decided to confront her again or take stronger action. That's when I started to dig deeper. I began paying closer attention to her routine, her phone, her emails. I kept a low profile, watching her every move. She still acted like everything was normal, but I could see the cracks. The way she'd glance nervously when her phone buzzed, the way she'd make sure she was alone before texting someone. I found myself obsessing over every detail, feeling sick every time I suspected she was hiding something. It was like walking on thin ice, knowing at any moment she might catch me snooping or catch me in the act of trying to find out the truth. One night I decided to follow her. She claimed she was going out with her friends, but I wasn't buying it. I waited until she left, then followed her car. She drove to a hotel downtown, an upscale place I didn't even know she'd been frequenting. I parked a few blocks away and watched her go inside, her bitchy attitude on full display. She was quick, confident, as if she knew exactly what she was doing. I felt a mixture of heartbreak and fury boiling inside me. This was real. She was actually cheating on me with a kid I once trusted. Over the next few days, I started piecing everything together. I looked at hotel security footage, thank God for those cameras, hidden behind a website I found that tracks hotel entrances. I managed to get access to the footage of her check-in, the time she went in and out. And then I saw him, Jake. He was the one meeting her at the hotel, the same guy I'd seen her texting about. They'd been sneaking around behind my back for weeks. Watching them together, all I could think was how much I'd been played. She'd lied to my face, told me she loved me, and then she was out there screwing this kid on the side. The worst part, seeing her with him, so confident and rebellious, like she was some kind of bad girl. The hotel footage didn't lie. I watched her go into the room, then see Jake arrive a little later. I felt sick. It was like I'd been punched again, but this time from the inside out. I kept replaying the footage over and over, trying to grasp how she could betray me so blatantly, so shamelessly. That bitchy attitude, her lies, all of it fused into one big, disgusting picture. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there staring at the images, trying to process what it all meant. I felt angry, betrayed, humiliated. I thought about everything we'd been through, all the plans, the promises, the future I thought we had. And then I remembered her calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying, blaming me for overreacting. She was out there with him, lying through her teeth, and I was supposed to believe she was just stressed and innocent. That was the moment I realized I had to do something more than just be hurt. I had to be smart. I started to plan. I wasn't going to confront her blindly, not without proof and a plan. I wanted to catch her in the act, expose her, make sure she knew I wasn't some naive husband to be played. I also knew I had to protect myself emotionally. I wasn't going to let her trash me or manipulate me anymore. I needed to be ready for whatever came next, whether that meant ending it or trying to salvage what little dignity I had left. I just knew I couldn't go on like this, pretending everything was okay when I knew she was out there, fucking around behind my back with a kid who was probably just trying to impress her. The thing that haunted me most was the thought of how she lied so effortlessly, like it was nothing. That bitchy smirk she had when she was caught, like she was so confident she could get away with anything. I'd seen her do that before, but this time it was different. This time, she was actually cheating. That realization crushed me, and I felt the weight of it every moment. I didn't know how I was going to fix this, or if I even wanted to, but I knew I had to do something soon before it got worse. The betrayal was clear, the evidence was undeniable, and I was about to make her regret ever crossing me. The more I thought about it, the more clear it became that I couldn't just confront her and expect her to come clean. She was too good at lying, too used to getting her way. I knew I had to outsmart her, to set a trap that'd catch her completely off guard. I started to plan meticulously. First, I needed undeniable proof that she was still seeing Jake. I didn't want to accuse her based on suspicions alone. I wanted her caught red-handed. I decided to plant a hidden camera in the hotel room, an easy enough task since I knew her usual check-in and check-out times. I rented a tiny spy camera online, discreet enough to hide in a small object. I placed it in the room when she was out at her conference, carefully making sure it wouldn't be detected. My goal was to record everything, her, Jake, what they did, how long they stayed. I knew that if I caught her cheating on camera, that'd be the proof I needed. The night she went out for her work trip, I set everything up. I was nervous, a mix of anger and anticipation. I couldn't believe I was resorting to spying, but honestly, what choice did I have? I waited at home, trying to stay calm, but I was a mess inside. When I finally checked the footage the next morning, I saw everything I needed. She arrived at the hotel with Jake, they checked in, and then they went into the room. The camera caught her taking off her coat, the way she looked at him like she was already flirting, and then, eventually, their bodies closed together on the bed. Seeing her in that act, knowing she'd lied about everything, pushed me over the edge. I felt sick but also determined. I had what I needed now. I could finally confront her with real proof. I waited until she returned home, then played the footage in front of her. Her face turned pale, her bitchy smirk disappearing as she watched herself on the screen. She tried to deny it, called it a setup, accused me of invading her privacy, but I didn't let her get away with it. "Don't lie," I said coldly, voice trembling with anger. "This is you, Emily, cheating on me with Jake, the assistant helping you with your book tour, the guy I met a dozen times. You've been lying to my face all this time, pretending to be stressed or busy while you're out screwing around. How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months?" She tried to spin some bullshit about it being a mistake, about how nothing serious, just a stupid flirtation, but I cut her off. I told her I didn't want her excuses, that I'd already seen everything I needed. Her bitchy attitude crumbled for a moment, her eyes darting, trying to think of a way out. But it was over. The truth was laid bare. I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. Relief because I finally knew what was real, and rage because I'd been humiliated and betrayed for so long. I looked at her, this woman I once loved, and saw her for what she really was, a liar, a cheater, and someone I couldn't trust anymore. I told her she needed to leave, that I didn't want to see her face again until she was willing to be honest. She snapped back, told me I was overreacting, that I was crazy for thinking she'd do something like that. But I was done listening. I knew I had to make a decision after that. Part of me wanted to throw her out immediately, to end it right there and then. The other part felt crushing sadness. How did everything go so wrong? How did I get here? I'd always believed in honesty, in loyalty, and now I was staring at a life that was shattered because of her lies. I could feel the tears coming, but I forced myself to stay calm. I knew I couldn't let her see me break. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, her lies, her sneering attitude, the moment I found the footage, and I realized I'd never been so betrayed in my life. She had lied so effortlessly, so cruelly. I knew I'd have to face the aftermath. What comes after discovering someone you love has been cheating on you with a kid I used to consider harmless. It's a lot to take in, and honestly, I don't know if I've fully processed it yet. All I know is, this is the moment I stop pretending everything's okay, because deep down I realize I've been living a lie too, and now I have no choice but to decide what's next. After confronting her with the footage, Emily's bitchy facade finally cracked. She tried to act like she was the victim, like I was overreacting, but I wasn't having it. Her excuses sounded so hollow. It was just sex, she spat, her voice dripping with contempt. It meant nothing, just a stupid mistake. Yeah, right. I'd seen her on camera, heard her whispering sweet nothings to Jake as if she was in love. The words she threw at me, blaming me for not trusting her, made my stomach turn. I could tell she was trying to manipulate her way out of it, but I wasn't buying her lies anymore. The thing is, I'd already made up my mind. There was no coming back from this. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and mostly angry. How long had she been lying? How many times had she looked me in the eye and lied straight to my face? The worst part was the way she looked at me, like I was crazy for even suspecting her. That bitchy smirk she always had, so confident, so dismissive, was now replaced with a kind of desperate defiance, like she was trying to hold onto her pride even as everything crumbled around her. I told her she had to leave. I told her I didn't want to see her again until she was ready to tell the truth, until she could face what she'd done. She started ranting, calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying and invading her privacy. She said she loved me, that she'd never cheat, that it was just sex, just a stupid mistake. I looked at her and felt nothing but disgust. I knew I couldn't fix this, not with her anymore. I was tired of her lies, tired of being played for a fool. I had to make a clean break. I knew that now. The following days were a blur. I kept replaying everything, trying to understand how I'd ended up here. I felt numb most of the time, like I was watching my life fall apart in slow motion. I couldn't help but think back to all the good moments, our trips, our talks, the future I'd imagined, and feel this crushing sadness. I wondered how I missed all the signs, how I'd convinced myself she was just stressed or busy. The betrayal cut so deep it was almost physical. I also started to reflect on myself. How I'd let her get away with so much. How I'd been blind to her bitchy attitude, her manipulative ways. I realized I'd been giving her too much slack, thinking she was just stressed or overwhelmed, when in reality, she was cheating on me with a kid I used to consider harmless. That realization made me feel stupid but also angry at myself. How did I let things get this bad? The hardest part was accepting that I couldn't change what she did, only what I decided to do now. I knew I had to move on, whether that meant trying to heal or just cutting her out of my life completely. I decided to start by cutting all contact, blocking her number, deleting her from social media. I didn't want to see her bitchy replies or her fake apologies. I needed space to breathe, to think clearly. But beneath all that anger and sadness, there was a strange sense of clarity. I knew I'd been betrayed, but I also knew I deserved better. I'd been with her for years, trying to be loyal and supportive, and she threw it all away for some stupid affair with a kid who probably thought he was hot shit. I felt humiliated, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. This wasn't the life I wanted anymore. I finally saw her for what she really was, an unfaithful, manipulative woman who didn't value me or our marriage. Now I'm left with the wreckage, trying to pick up the pieces. I know I'll heal eventually. I know I'll move on. But right now, I'm just trying to get through the days without falling into despair. And I guess I wanted to share this, to tell anyone out there who's going through something similar, that it hurts like hell, but you have to face the truth. Be honest with yourself. Trust your gut. And never ignore the signs, no matter how much they hurt. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and you'll have to live with what you find. The weeks after she moved out were probably the hardest of my life. I'd go from feeling numb to flashes of anger, sadness, and sometimes just pure exhaustion. Everything I'd built, our life, our plans, the trust, I watched it all crumble. I'd sit alone in the apartment, staring at the empty spaces she once filled, wondering how I'd let it get so bad. Honestly, part of me kept thinking I should have seen it coming, but deep down, I refused to believe she'd sink so low. That bitchy attitude, her constant lies, that was just her personality, or so I told myself. But now I knew better. She had been a liar and a cheat, and I'd been blind to it for too long. The hardest part was feeling betrayed by someone I'd loved and trusted, someone I thought I was building a future with. When I saw her on that hotel footage, smiling and flirting with Jake like she was the only woman in the world, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. That look she gave him, so confident, so bitchy, made me realize how little she cared about our marriage or how much she'd hurt me. That realization was a punch to my pride, and honestly, I didn't know if I'd ever get over it. The nights were the worst. I'd lie awake replaying everything, her words, her lies, the way she looked at Jake on the footage, the way she tried to dismiss what I'd found. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to her bitchy manipulations. It felt like I'd been living in some kind of bubble, believing she was stressed or overwhelmed when she was out there screwing around. The betrayal was so raw that I sometimes wondered if I'd ever trust again. Could I even look at her the same way? Could I forgive her? Hell, could I even forget? I started to focus on myself. I had to rebuild my confidence piece by piece. I threw myself into work, threw myself into working out, trying to distract my mind from the chaos inside. I also started seeing a therapist, which helped me process everything. Talking about it, spilling out my feelings, helped me realize I wasn't alone and that I deserved better. A lot of nights I'd cry alone, silent tears, bitter and angry. But gradually I began to accept what had happened. I'd been betrayed badly, yes, but I was still standing. Maybe not unscathed, but alive. One thing I learned was that you can't control what other people do, only how you react to it. I couldn't undo her betrayal, but I could decide what to do next. I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment, surrounded by the ghost of what we once had. So I started planning my next move. I looked into a new place, something fresh. Maybe a small apartment just for myself, where I could breathe and start over. I also started blocking her from my social media, cutting off all contact. I didn't want to see her bitchy, manipulative messages trying to guilt trip me or make me feel bad for what happened. There was a strange kind of clarity in all this pain. I realized I'd been giving her too much control, too much slack. I'd always believed in honesty, loyalty, and staying faithful, things I thought we both valued, but she threw that all away for a quick fling with Jake. I felt naive, but also angry at myself. Why did I let her get away with so much? Why did I ignore the signs? The answer was simple. I wanted to believe in us. I wanted to believe she loved me. But now I knew better. Love isn't just about words, it's about actions, and her actions showed me she didn't care about me, only herself. So here I am now, trying to rebuild from the wreckage. I don't have all the answers, and I don't know if I'll ever fully trust again. But I do know I deserve better than someone who cheats and lies like she did. I won't let her destroy me, even though she tried. It's going to take time, maybe a long time, but I believe I'll be okay. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. And if there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's that betrayal hurts badly, but it's not the end. You can survive it. You can come out stronger even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Just hold on. Keep moving forward. That's all I can do now. Looking back now, I realize that what hurt the most wasn't just the betrayal itself, but how long I let her manipulate and lie to me before I finally saw the truth. I kept telling myself she was stressed, overworked, or maybe just bitchy, trying to find excuses for her behavior. But deep down, I knew she was cheating, lying, and playing me for a fool. That realization hit hard, and it changed everything. The process of coming to terms with it has been a roller coaster, full of anger, sadness, and most of all, disappointment. I spent so much time feeling broken, like I'd lost a part of myself along with her. But slowly, I started to rebuild. I realized I didn't need her approval or her lies to feel whole. I needed to focus on myself, on healing from the inside out. What I've learned from all of this is that no matter how much you love someone, if they're willing to cheat and lie, they don't deserve your loyalty or your trust. You have to look out for yourself, even if it hurts. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is cut ties, walk away, and give yourself the chance to breathe and rediscover who you are outside of that toxic relationship. I'm not perfect, and I still feel pain sometimes, but I also feel a strange sense of liberation. I didn't think I'd ever feel that way after everything, but I do. I'm learning to forgive myself for trusting her for so long, and I'm starting to believe that I can find happiness again, alone or with someone who truly values me. To anyone out there going through something similar, I want you to know this. Betrayal is a hell of a thing, but it's not the end of your story. It's a moment in your life, a chapter that will eventually close. Don't be afraid to face the truth, no matter how ugly it gets. Trust your instincts, stand your ground, and remember that you deserve honesty, loyalty, and love, something she clearly wasn't willing to give me anymore. I've learned that love isn't about putting up with lies or manipulation. It's about respect, trust, and being real with each other. When those things are gone, everything else is meaningless. So I'm moving on, stronger than I thought I could be, and with a new understanding of what I need and what I'll never accept again. The road ahead isn't clear yet, but I'm okay with that. Because now I know the truth, and that's more than enough to start rebuilding my life.